So as you can see here, I have my iPhone 14 Pro Max with the latest Filmic Pro V7 and the Google Pixel 6 Pro running V6. In this video, first I want to run through all of the interface changes and differences, and then I want to talk about if this update was actually efficient for the users. And finally, of course, we're going to talk about Filmic's new pricing structure. Is it actually worth it? As we first open the apps, we get a mixed bag of familiar interface while also new. And one thing I immediately like about V7 is it does seem like a cleaner interface. In the top left, you can tap and adjust how you want to adjust your exposure and focus. So you can go with the very traditional reticles here. If I tap on V6, we can see they've just kind of adjusted the colors to be more branding, circular. We still have for locking and unlocking focus. Square is going to be exposure. I have that backwards. Circle, exposure, square, focus. But on V7, you also have the ability to quickly change between a center weight, which is going to focus both based on whatever's in the center of your composition, as well as an easy option to go full manual controls with our focus on the right side and our levels on the left, ISO adjustments, shutter speed, and zoom controls. And of course on V6, to get to those, we press this little button right here. And here you have the wheels, which I think this is a lot of the reason why people disliked Filmic. My brain always did the opposite of what I was intending to do. Like if I wanted to change ISO, I would tap on it. But what that actually does is lock the ISO, and then this wheel adjusts the shutter speed, or I would tap the shutter speed wanting to adjust that and it would adjust ISO, and I'd usually ruin or miss shots that were happening just because I tapped on the wrong thing. And while on V7 it primarily works the same, it just feels clear to me. If I want to adjust my ISO, I simply tap ISO and now I'm adjusting that, tap on S for shutter speed and now I'm adjusting that. And the level option is basically adjusting both, and I can still see how it's adjusting those numbers based on whatever I'm aiming at. The focus has the same A/B focus point meters, but I really like the updated interface on here. On both V6 and V7, you can basically set a focus point, press and hold, and it's going to put either A or B point there. I can adjust it. And now we can see those two lines have moved. So if I just tap on this one, it will do a nice focus pull to that. Same with this one. And I can do the same thing in V7. I can just press and hold on a certain spot. Go to this side, maybe pull a bit closer. And I can just tap on the blue or the pink marker here, and it's gonna slowly pull focus between the two. I really like the updated audio interface here too. On V6, you basically just had a pro version of having the numbers where it gives you a specific decibel level where you're at. The V7, it defaults to a more basic one where you just get the meters, but if you tap on it, you will get those specific decibel readings as well as where the audio source is coming from. So it's going to default, of course, to the rear speaker. And you do get some audio options, but I do need to go in and adjust my frame rate because right now I'm shooting at 4K ProRes 60 playback at a 24 FPS timeline, so it's automatically slow and I need to match my frame rates. So I'm going to go to the new settings icon, which is now in the top left instead of the bottom right. And we do see that we seemingly are missing quite a few features. There's only 9 boxes here compared to the 15 up here. Now, from what I can tell, they've basically just consolidated a lot of the menus. For example, resolution and frame rate were 2 separate options here, and now video is here. We have the encoding, and then we have a tab for frame rate. I now should be able to tap on my microphone here, and you have some easy to switch between menu options. Another new button here is a quick action function button, which I really like. This, if you press and hold, you can change the function to it. You can even hit the plus icon, and that's going to take you to an even wider selection of things that you can have the function button do. I personally love having it set to manual mode. Now they put the live analytics right here. You can choose between off, reactive zebras, false color, and of course focus peaking. I guess they've updated the tech around them, so false color zebras are using even more professionally matched systems. I'm a waveform type of guy, I'll be honest. I'm pretty simple. And speaking of waveforms, you can still have access the same exact way as version 6 by just tapping here. Obviously my background is black, but if I were to adjust and actually get a picture, you can see the various different waveforms come up the same exact way there. One of the biggest redesigns is what Filmic is calling the CAM, I see what you did there. The quick action model. This little arrow right on top on V7 here brings down a menu where you can easily see your ISO, your shutter, your white balance, how many minutes you have left to record based on the recording quality settings you have, those recording qualities, and what type of color space you're shooting in. All of which can basically give you quick access to these specific menus, which are really nice, and it brings up a nice little display. Same thing with shutter speed. I like having those shutter angles underneath the shutter speed. And of course you can manually adjust in between, but it's really nice to have those quick settings. Bottom left, we still have all of our color controls right here. This of course is going to vary based on the device. This pretty much looks the same exact interface from V6. I do like the updated lens switcher. On here, we just kind of got a very basic icons to switch between everything. And now it's giving us very detailed information. As I adjust manually here, you can actually see the field of view angles changing. And finally, we have a quick monitoring button right here, where if you're using Filmic remote, let's say on my iPad here, I can turn on control. So with control, of course, on the phone, you can see that all of my interface is gone. And so now all of the controls are going to take place right on here. And I can just press and hold on the phone to disconnect. You can change it to monitoring, which if I connect again, is going to keep the interface on my phone and not really have an interface here, but it's just a wireless monitor. And of course, I want to point out the integration with Frame.io, which isn't new to V7. It's something worth pointing out. If you guys haven't looked into camera to cloud technology, it's incredible. I've used Frame.io since they were in beta, basically. If you guys want to see a whole video on how camera to cloud technology works, make sure you hit that like button, and I'll be sure to make one of those.
So all those changes are cool and all, but what's the experience actually like? Is it faster? Does it seem more optimized and efficient? My voice sounds insane. I'm losing it. Because what's the point of just making a pretty interface if it's gonna slow things down or make things less efficient? So I've definitely been testing it out on my home screen here, and startup times seem to be pretty freaking fast. And I do like that it also is optimized for vertical content, since a lot of, us people are having to make vertical stuff now. Quickly switches into rotation. The user interface hasn't been buggy or laggy, and starting and stopping recording has been pretty quick. How fast can I start it up and get recording? Super fast. Honestly, the previous version did start to get a little buggy for me on some of the last versions, so that's really nice to see. Of course, the final image of what you can actually get with the camera hasn't really changed in this version, so I'm just going to show footage from last year in Seattle when I got ProRes. Got some of the best phone footage I've ever shot. And now with the updated interface, it definitely is a really good package for a price.
When I ran the update and I launched Filmic for the first time on V7, I went through kind of the screens where they talk about what new features are there, and then you get to the point basically talking about pricing and loyalty pricing, since I had already purchased V6. It looks like for normal people who are buying Filmic for the first time, it is going to cost $2.99 a week or $50 a year. If you purchase V6, then you can get loyalty discounts for $1.99 a week, $2 a week, or $40 a year. It does give you a 1-week trial, so you can play around with it if it is your first time, or if you purchase V6, you can still do the trial as well. I actually do want to point out that I did find in settings, they had a neat little page. Try V7 and you don't like it, you purchased V6 already and you want to just go back to that and not pay a weekly subscription. If you go into the settings and under the information button, you can scroll to the bottom and you'll see a download Filmic Legacy, which will eventually redirect you to the App Store. And in here, we can see that they essentially put V6 into a whole new app. And when we read the description, we can basically see that this is V6. It's no longer going to get new features, but they will continue to update it with bug fixes. Honestly, I gotta give props to Filmic for doing something like this. They could have easily said, hey, this is V7, and either pay or get out. But they are giving the existing customers who originally paid for V6 and thought it was a one-time purchase for the rest of forever, the ability to not only keep the app, and they're not gonna leave you totally hanging with the ability to get bug fixes so that your V6 should continue to work as new phones and new OS updates come out. Obviously, I can see that that will end at some point, but I'm guessing they'll do that for at least a couple years. So is the pricing worth it? It's a hard one, and I think it's gonna come down to every individual user. I think there are a lot of people out there who bought Filmic because, they heard it's one of the best pro filmmaking apps out there. They use it from time to time, but it's certainly not a daily driver app or something they open all the time. Those are the people who I think will download the V6 Legacy app and just keep using that for as long as it works. But I know there are a lot of people out there who have entire YouTube channels, who make filmmaking documentaries, and iPhoneographers as the term has kind of been coined. Those are the people that I do think will happily pay $2 a week or $50 a year for. Maybe a cop-out answer, but I understand the people who are kind of angry and don't like the new pricing structure, and I get why people wouldn't pay for it, but a company needs to grow in order to keep innovating, and so if they have to go with this pricing structure, it's not outrageously priced for something that is a professional app. And so I'm not totally mad about it, and I'm not gonna dog on the pricing too much. As always, I'd love to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. If you guys wanna see what ProRes video can look like on an iPhone 14 Pro Max, make sure you check out my 1-month review from a while back. Thanks for watching, see you in the next one.